And the sooner we all get here, the more meeting we have. So thank you for that. I'm going to confirm quorum. I see 9 of us, so that's fabulous. And that is also something very important that we'll be talking about today, that we will rely on you so dearly upon, so that we have that, so we can make the decisions and the important moves that we need to make as a commission. The most important, the quickest thing I want to get through is just making sure we review and approve minutes. So if you guys want to quickly just go through, if you didn't before, Barbara usually sends this out in the email that you get, just FYI. So you will always get an email from Barbara that will have both the agenda and the minutes. So you can do a little bit of your pre-work before we get here and just catch up on what happened last week, the month before. Of course, you will all have been here, but you can look through. Sometimes there's typos, sometimes we forget important details. It's up to you to say, can you please add that so-and-so said this, or that we decided that, or it's totally up to you to request that. So this is our moment to sort of say, oh, there was that one more thing that we discussed that's not in here, or to say, looks good to me. We captured the high-level issues that were discussed, and then someone would move to make a motion to approve those minutes, and someone else will second it, and then we will all chime in. So having said that, if everyone feels that they've reviewed the minutes, can I get a motion to approve? You can say, I'll make the motion, yep. And then a second?
Second.
Thank you. Everyone for? All those for, yeah, and anyone against? All right, great. The motion for approving the minutes goes forward. Now we're going to quickly do a financial update. I have not kept up with this. I don't know, Davey, do you want to chime in a little bit?
Chime in a lot.
Great.
Financial update is we just received the new budget for this year, and we don't have it, or we would have included it with you. The changes from last year are we picked up 1.5 full-time equivalents. One will be for the hiring of a Title VI compliance officer, and the other for a half-time administrative person. We are currently now working with the finance department to see if there is existing space in our budget to actually turn this admin person into a full-time person. But nonetheless, at a minimum, we will have a person who can work up to 30 hours a week based on that. The other couple of issues were the increase in the mobile diversity tour, and our lease in our office runs out this year. We've already began the discussions with Metro as it relates to where and how come and how much space, and then ultimately how much that will actually impact our budget. But that's basically the scoop on the budget.
How does it look in terms of the mobile diversity? I know we always lose money on that.
It's more than ample.
It is, okay.
Yes, it is more than ample. We were actually, if you understand the budget process, after the mayor submits his budget, the last angle or way of getting money through the budget is through the council amendments, and they're not that popular. And even as I shared with you, it's like throwing something up in the air. Well, out of the 20 that were submitted, 4 got approved, and one of the 4 was ours. So that was a plus.
And I want to commend our executive director. That was like the first month on the job. And like he said, it's no joke. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with that budget process, but it's rough. And yeah, before going in that night, you said, I have no idea, and I'm not even going to make a call on what's going to happen. And we walked out with that extra person. So that's really incredible work and a testament to his effectiveness and also what we're up to here at the commission. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you for that explanation. So much to ask about the location, but we can leave that for another time because we've got great things to talk about today. Okay, let's move on to new business. I'm going to hand it over to the executive director to just orient you all a little bit to what we're doing and what your task is here, and then I'll finish it out and we'll move on to the next. So go ahead, Davey.
Thank you. First, let me welcome you all to the Metro Human Relations Commission. I really look forward to working with you as we try to make Nashville a little bit better for everybody. First thing I want to do is get the staff that is here to introduce themselves. That would be Barbara and Ashley.
Good afternoon. You all have probably received colorful emails from me. I'm Barbara the Director of Community Engagement, and I'm thrilled to first of all be working with David Tucker, and also to be working with you. Looking forward to some good things.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Batchelder. I'm the new Director of Policy and Research. Today's my first day, so I don't know many of you, but I look forward to meeting y'all and learning the work of the Commission more. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to do this was her first day thing, but as you've already learned, this is her first day. We are excited to have Ashley on board to continue a lot of the research and report compiling work that the Commission so badly needs. We have one other person, Mark Etherly, and he's not with us tonight, but he holds down all of the admin type stuff. He does a lot of other work oriented, but far as running the office and all the Metro stuff, Mark is the person who handles that. And that constitutes the entire staff of the Metro Human Relations Commission that is centered around, as on your agenda, it would say, the mission of the Metro Human Relations Commission is to protect and promote the personal dignity, peace, safety, security, health, and general welfare of all people of Nashville and Davidson County. That is our mission, and that's and as we go through some of this information today, it is concretized in code. And so I say that directly on the back end of saying you've just met the depth of our staff as we attempt to do the work of protecting and promoting the personal dignity, peace, safety, security, health, and general welfare of all people in Nashville rest in our four hands and the support of the Commission. But welcome to the Commission, and I hope that while you're here that we can contribute to the issues that stand in the way of equity with people here in Nashville. Doing this little presentation, I want to keep it as informal as possible so you can ask questions, interrupt me at any time. What my goal and hope is to, you were given a binder, and I'm going to jump through it. I'm going to bounce through the binder that you have, and I'm going to begin in section 1. So we are going to get it up on screen? Okay, but if not, everybody has it in their book. You can follow along with it. And in our practice, Barbara does a lot of this Title VI stuff, and I'll invite her that if at any time she feels I'm moving too quickly past something, that you just interrupt and say it so that I don't miss it. But I appreciate them putting together these binders. This has been a practice for a while with the Commission. It really has most of the information that you're going to need and to even refer back to as you start to understand the complexity of what we do. And before I move any further, another vital member of our team that I kind of just left off, and I feel kind of bad. I feel kind of bad about it. It's Derek Smith. Derek Smith is our legal counsel. Derek is part of the Metro Legal Department. Each board and commission has a Metro legal rep, and over time they kind of become like part of the team or whatever. So this is Derek Smith. He will answer or attempt to answer those hard legal questions that put us in conflict with the law that establishes us. So, Derek, you got something you want to say?
I'll just say also, to the extent...
You need to turn your mic on so we get all of this. There you go, yeah.
To the extent any of you ever have a question of you serving as a commissioner as it relates to conflicts of interest, ethics, or things of that nature, I'm also the advisor to you as a commission member, in your capacity as a commission member, not as your, individual outside endeavors, but certainly feel free to reach out to us. We're available for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're all in section 1, we'll go ahead and get started and try to move through this. And again, I'm going to jump through this book a little bit to kind of give us a real quick orientation. But if any of you, I know that in the past that we've tried to facilitate that in the office. I have to be clear with Derek on when and how we can meet. And so let me just ask you, for a strictly, just say, an informational type meeting, or even a meeting to say, talk about planning or strategy, does that have to be public noticed if there'll be no vote and no agenda and no none of that?
Best practices definitely is to notice it, even if no business is going to be conducted. There are a few exceptions to the Open Meetings Act. One is for off-site visits, but I don't know if you're planning an off-site visit. We still recommend you notice it just in case someone wants to be present, but make it clear no business is going to be conducted. Boards and commissions also often have what they call retreats, working sessions, things of that nature where they won't conduct business. But our recommendation and advice still is give notice of it. You just don't have an agenda because there's not going to be any business.
Okay.
But you can do it that way. You also have a requirement in your organizational structure. If you want to have a special meeting, it can be called, but then I think needs the approval of 9 members of the commission. That's another mechanism for having a meeting. Finally, an executive session for the commission to receive legal advice in a private attorney-client setting. That's just the general rules you operate under. But as you know, I'll work with you to get anything stood up that the commission seeks or that you want to put before it. But best practice is notice things just to keep a clean bill of health.
Thank you. In the section 1 that begins the slide there, the one that will begin our discussion. This mission statement for me, and I served on the commission and had the privilege of also serving as chair of the commission. And this mission statement for me has always been what guided me in my personal work as it relates to the commission, but also guided me in my leadership as it relates to the commission. And I would hope that we could all center ourselves around this statement. Yes, it's huge, but I think that when we center our work and the things that we want to do, then you already know whether or not it fits or not, whether or not it's part of what it is that we should be about. And if you tend to this stuff, it's going to be more stuff than we will ever have the opportunity to actually addressing. So again, you will hear it. We print it on everything, and maybe one day I'll actually remember it without having to quote it. But our powers and duties are established by the Metro Code. You have copies of the code in your folder. Also, executive orders, where the mayor can issue a order establishing something. The only issue with executive orders is that the next administration can write another executive order undoing that executive order. And informal designation and custom. People ask us into spaces all the time. We've been asked into various metro departments to negotiate or mediate for them. In fact, Barbara just completed one with Metro Juvenile Court, which was an informal request. We get a lot of informal requests, and we attempt to handle those that we can. And but those are the powers and the duties that we have. But more specifically is the ability to investigate complaints of discrimination. Now, all of this is based on the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that did not take into account the issues of gender. This is a race-based initiative, and often people don't realize that that's what the Civil Rights Act covered. It did not cover the other things that subsequent acts under Titles 7, 8, 9, and on address that take in other discriminatory forms of gender, religion, and other things. We also conduct public hearings, community forums, and public education. Excuse me. Yes.
Another unique aspect of Title VI, unlike other...
You need to get on the mic, too. Well, I think you need to turn it on.
Just the primary thing about Title VI is, unlike Title VII and some of the other titles that David referenced, you can adjudicate those. You can file a lawsuit. With Title VI, that is not the case. That's the only one. Like, there, you can think of another one that I know of that you have to file a complaint. It's more of an administrative, but there is no court involved. So that's also been a conversation.
Thank you, and I made it, you break in, because see, I was trying to wheeze on past that to get through this and give the meeting back to the chairperson, okay? But that's an excellent point, and you actually make me think about some of the stuff that we have done. We were part of helping to mediate all the confusion around the evictions that were going on during COVID. We were part of the discussion around the dispersion of funds that were held by agencies. And we were invited into those spaces, and a couple times we actually barged into the spaces because we actually have warrant to. And so oftentimes the work that we do will not get seen on the news. Barbara just did a mobile diversity tour where we expose graduating cadets to various aspects of our city, various demographic aspects of our city with Black, LGBTQ, immigrant, Muslim communities. And if we did not do that, that would not be a part of their training. And so, again, we have this ability to get involved into spaces where hopefully we can make a difference.
And just to be clear, that training is part of every cadet's training now. So it's an official part. It's not one-off or every once in a while. It is now part of every cadet's training, delivered by us only.
We also conduct public hearings, community forums, and public education. To date, toward the end of last year, we completed a series of 4 public hearings called Reimagining Public Safety. And it was at that time the then executive director made the decision to leave and step down. So we've had some months go by, and we're in the process now that Ashley's here of actually putting that into a report. And so we have the ability to hold these hearings, to gather information, to issue reports, and as you'll find, to also make recommendations to the council and to the mayor and to other community-type stakeholders. We've also held hearings on policing, public housing. What were the other 2? Budget. The budget process. Was one other, and I forget.
There was an economic one. We did people experiencing homelessness and mental health issues, and then we did a budget one, and we did an economic one as well.
Public safety was approached, those were 2 different forms. One was the criminal aspect, and the other was the civil.
Yes. And part of that was born out of the government entities tend to look at public safety as police and fire. But academics, sociologists, and others have expanded that to take in economics, poverty, housing, and other aspects that determine public safety. So we, in our efforts, are trying to show that public safety is more than police and fire. The next slide is our powers and duties. We have the powers and the duty to collect data, to issue reports on discrimination and human relations. As I just mentioned with Ashley, Metro employs approximately 9,000 some odd employees. In 2015, the commission did its inaugural Inclusivics Report, which was to look at all of Metro's employees as it relates to position, race, gender, and other aspects of employment. There was a follow-up to that in 2019, and we're preparing now to do a follow-up in 2023, which would show whether or not we've gotten any better or not. The last Inclusivics Report, which you should be able to find on our website, will show you the demographics of how all Metro employees lay out. A couple things takeaway is if you look at Metro employees in $10,000 pay increments, overwhelmingly the bottom 4 pay grades are overwhelmingly people of color. The top 2 pay grades are overwhelmingly white male. And even in those top pay grades, they count individuals that are part of, this is a semi-autonomous board and commission. You all hire me, not the city, which is a bit different. But then you also have elected black public officials who are hired by the people. Well, the way in which the city counts these, they count all of those in those numbers. And when you take those numbers out to the people that Metro actually hire, you get a very stark difference of who is working and who is in charge. And so, but we're able, because of the way we're set up, to have access to this data and to make this data public, to create space and forums to where hopefully we can use the data to actually have some systemic change. And again, I asked if anybody has any questions or anything, interrupt me. We also advise and consult with the mayor and the council, and this is where I think you come in. Each of you have something that you're passionate about, and we want to try to be able to create space to help you in that regard, because it would also help the city. But you were appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the council, and some of you have varying activities that you have relationships with the mayor and various members of council. At times, we're going to need that to actually make a difference in something. And so I would hope that you as a commissioner would understand that that's going to be one of the more powerful things that you'll be able to do as a commissioner, is to bring the issues of the commission up to the mayor and the city council. I'm sure that we were successful in this budget amendment because we asked the commissioners to call their council members, that we worked the council well in advance, that this was not a last-minute one-off that we had come up on. In fact, we were working with the council on language access, and at one of our meetings, we'll bring you up to date on where we're at with that. Language access is something that In some areas, Metro is doing well, but in other areas, they're not doing so well. Case in point is codes and all of that is here. Well, there are some immigrant citizens who are licensed, bonded contractors who actually have to get someone to go with them to navigate through the codes process. If you're an English-speaking contractor, you don't have to have that added cost. And much of that could be offset just by having the documents available for them to read. And that would not only go here, it goes into courts, it goes into the library, it goes into all of Metro processes. That the commission was also part of a study that identified the 5 major languages that are spoken here in the city, and that we ought to provide as much language access as we can. So fortunately, this past council during the budget approved a software package that makes it easier for organizations to print forms. They don't have to go out to the printer and do large sums. They can print forms as needed. If they have a standard form, then they can print that form. So part of the work of the commission going forward is we have to reach out to those organizations and see where they are with language access. It's only important when it's you who don't have access. Yes.
I'm just curious, what are the top languages in Nashville?
I'm finna try this. Spanish, Kurdish, Arabic. One of the, I want to say Somali. And okay, can I call a friend?
I'm happy to be that friend.
Help me out, Petit.
Happy to help.
You
happy
should
to
know
help.
this.
So I think other languages, I mean, it's just, we have so many different countries that are represented in the city of Nashville, but other kind of bigger populations is Burmese and Amharic, which is an Ethiopian language. But it's also good to remember that, like, when it comes to these language accesses, you know, while Burmese is a common language, there's many tribes of Burmese people that speak different. So there's Karen, Zomi, and other factors and other dialects that are also needed to be represented. And so it's a trickier process than just, you know, the top languages throwing in, because so many other communities have dialects and things like that that need to be made sure. If you put everything in Somali, maybe not every Somali community member will understand that, because it's not always a broad brush.
That just reminds me, during one of our hearings, we had an activist come here to talk about activist space for workers' rights, and she shared just in terms of the power and the poignancies of these hearings, she shared a story of how someone had their children taken away from them because the translator didn't actually understand the dialect she spoke. And so they were speaking Spanish to her and she was speaking an indigenous dialect. And so they were like, stop talking to your, was it grandchildren or children over Zoom, because they couldn't understand what she was saying. And that further distanced her from her children. So these are real issues. They're not convenience issues.
All right, thank you. And if we turn the page, we'll talk about what we work on. And these are broad, but under there, it gets into the weeds of what the issues are. But religious diversity and tolerance, you know, we hear it always said that this is a Christian nation, but I read somewhere where it was established for religious freedom. I mean, just depends on where you get your history class at, I guess. But Erwin Vennick, one of our commissioners who will be reappointed on next week, who's here, drafted a letter for the commission as it relates to the recent anti-Semitic messages and things that have been going on. And that's something else with that we do that when certain issues show up in the community that need a voice to it, we come to the commission asking that they would approve to put out something on that. And we're grateful for Erwin to actually compile a document to speak to the importance of not only standing against the hate, but that religious organizations as a whole have to defend Jews and Judaism, just as we would want everyone to have their religious freedom. And sometimes these are hosting meetings where folks of different faiths get together just to talk about some of the commonalities that we all have. Racial inequity and disparities, that seems to be the catch of the day. But one of the areas for me is we are so used to dealing with racial inequity and disparities in a black-white prism that we often miss other people of color who have nuances and uniqueness about their own ethnicities that may not fall within the black spectrum. And so part of our work is to be champions for racial equality and equity. And at some point, we'll talk a little bit about the vast differences in those two words. This idea of equity, for me, sometimes costs to be equitable, particularly when there's been generational inequities. And that's always a big hurdle that you have to do if, and some things are hard to make equitable, but hopefully it will be your efforts to lean into the hard work to really help us make a difference. The LGBTQIA community, inclusion and disparities. About 3 years ago, a couple of police officers, obviously with nothing to do and no crime to fight, took a picture of a trans woman and turned it into a meme. And several police officers and firemen sent it around to everybody. At that time, Dr. Marissa Richmond was our chair. And I don't even think she was chair then. She might have been vice chair. Well, we were part of a group that mediated with the police and fire departments to be more sensitive and inclusive as it relates to the LGBTQ community. That resulted in them getting liaisons to those communities and also developing policies. And something that several of us were quite adamant about, also those individuals with the police and fire department were also disciplined for their actions. Immigrant and refugee inclusion and access, all of these should be representative of the work that we do. And I'll be one of the first to say that I think that the commission and maybe even the city on some level have not worked as hard on the immigrant issue that is often holds other challenges that our typical generational black-white fight does not have with it. And so we're glad to have a couple of folk here on the committee, Pratik and Kozar, who work with Tennessee Immigrant Rights, Refugee, See, I almost had it. Disability rights and access. And in my conversation with the mayor's office as it relates to appointing commissioners, I've asked specifically for representation in all of these areas, that we can be attentive to that. So when you look at disability rights, if you spend a day and look at how many curbs do not have access, you would still be surprised. We automatically just think all curbs have the wheelchair ramp on them, but they don't. So depending on where you work or where you parked, you still run into obstacles of getting in and out of buildings. And so the commission's work is inclusive of all of this. As we continue, it says where we work. When you look at the areas that are there, and again, inside of those areas are just a multiplicity of issues. Just taking employment, we've dealt with wage theft. We have dealt with truth in employment numbers. You hear about all the jobs that are available in Nashville. And if you're not careful, that creates a narrative that you got either you don't have enough workers or people don't want to work. Well, whatever number that is, they don't separate them out by full-time, 40 hours with benefits. And so with the hospitality industry, they are notorious for less than full-time jobs. And so for some people, that's not a viable alternative. And so criminal justice, we've dealt with bail, we've dealt with sentencing, we've dealt with restorative justice. So it depends on where we have the bandwidth, but also, again, what are the inclinations of you as a commissioner that you're most concerned with? And I think that we do a pretty good job of setting up an apparatus, say that if you're just on this restorative justice thing or whatever, that we do have resources that we can help amplify the work that you do in that respect. Okay, and you just look through those others. I'm going to keep moving. How we work. We work toward compliance. And as in Title VI, that's what the hiring of the compliance officer is. Metro is required every year to compile a large Title VI report saying that they're in compliance. And each department has identified someone as a Title VI officer. But our organization does not have the bandwidth to actually ensure that these departments are in compliance through inspection, through providing on-site training. Now, we do a lot of assistance. We get a lot of calls for assistance with Title VI, but the actual inspection or the actual ability to be able to say through our work that all is compliant, we can't do that. We do ongoing programs of engagement, such as the Inclusivics. The commission did what I thought was a groundbreaking 3-part housing report several years ago that became part of the policy discussion that got the Barnes Fund a little bit more money and actually got a law passed with inclusionary zoning that was overturned by the state legislature. And all of that was part of what I think was the depth of the analysis that previous ED with Barbara and Mark Etherly, who are still part of the organization, put together. And so that's the work that we're really interested in.
And I recommend everybody take a look because the analysis is very good in terms of where we are and where the rest of the country is and where the numbers. So, and then we have a bunch of extras and also it's online, right? It's on the website, yeah.
And it was even prophetic to some degree in that no one reacted, in my opinion, as forcefully until middle-class people started getting put out of their homes. It started on the margins, and it took years for it to move toward the center, and it didn't dingle anybody's bells until it started putting out middle-class folk who are also getting evicted and priced out of their homes. We also are part of tons of events, and probably events you all are going to bring too. MLK Day, Human Rights Day, LGBTQI Day, International Human Rights Day, Tennessee Human Rights Day, Disability Day, any day that has to do anything with human rights or human relations. Many of those days we're actual co-sponsors. We're a co-sponsor and participate in the Tennessee Human Rights Day, the Martin Luther King celebration here in Nashville. What are some of the other events that we're sponsors in, Barbara?
Iftar was the first to end the iftar. Iftar is the evening meal during Ramadan. And so at Music City Center, we sponsor that, co-sponsor that with other partners. And we invite people to join us. We're tasting Celebrate Nashville. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Celebrate Nashville. People from all over the region come into that, and it goes on.
I'd like to thank your sponsorship for our World Refugee Day this past June. Yeah.
And so we invite you also to bring your days. And we attend, and you're open as a commissioner to also represent this commission in any spots and places where you show up. Barbara is ordering you this nice little pin that will say commissioner on it with the little logo that if you want to wear a badge when you go. But we would welcome you also being the voice to amplify this commission by attending some of these events. And periodically, we will actually ask you specifically if you are tied with an organization or there's a correlation. We'll often ask that you would attend on our behalf. Questions, anything right there?
David, I'm glad you mentioned the pins. They were ordered 2 weeks ago, and I just got notice they just arrived.
Okay, all right. Just a couple things that I want to share, and then I'm going to be done. If you would flip to tab 2. And tab 2 is actually an excerpt of the various code that make up the mission and the objectives, and it outlines what we can or cannot do. And I just ask that just for a few moments that you just not read it, but just kind of flick through it. And these are the legal documents that guide our work. And these are also the documents that we often need Derek to help us decipher what they actually mean. We just went through, this is a 17-member commission. Majority is a quorum. But if you don't have 17 members, does it change the quorum? So these are questions that Derek asked that when we interpret it, sometimes we get it right, Derek, sometimes?
Oh, most of the time. Oftentimes my advice is best practice as opposed to push comes to shove when we advocate once you make the decision. So just understand that. We try to avoid the conflict if possible. So sometimes my advice may be to guide you in a direction that's going to result in less. It'll let you get to your issue, but not have to go through the procedural hurdles if they're all avoidable. That's kind of how I analyze things to try to avoid that if we can. But yeah, we did have that issue, and there's actually a separate provision in the Metropolitan Charter differing from your code provision. And whenever a charter issue is addressed, it trumps or supersedes the code. So,
and that's where this question was answered at. It was answered in the code because we had interpreted it from the charter and we had to be corrected that it was in the code. But if you turn to section 3, These are our bylaws, and this is probably the document that you will be sorting through most often. And again, it restates the purpose, but it also guides us through the organization, as in, again, a brief overview of the powers and duties, but the composition of the commission, the terms of office, the qualifications, the removal, and the resignation. One of the things that I'll bring up, and I don't know if the chair was going to mention it, is that this idea of quorum is that we need X amount to be able to do business. And so our strong encouragement is to let us know if you're not going to come, so that we can possibly make other arrangements so that we can have quorum. And also there in here is the terms of being in office, which are not necessarily clear. You both are, all of you, unless you're filling someone's expired term, are eligible for 2 3-year terms to serve on the commission. And that's generally how that goes. But there are even exceptions to that. On the next page, Article 6, it outlines the executive committee, the chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and it just goes through that, the various committees, and then toward the end, it outlines the various type of meetings that we have, the standing committees and the task force. A lot of that rests with the chair. She has the chair has great flexibility. I didn't want to gender the chair, but has great flexibility in setting up committees that are specifically tasked for specific things. Any questions? All right, because I know I'm getting boring here, and I want to stop here in just a sec. And I want to end with the Title VI piece that is in your book under Section 4. Again, Title VI is out of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, I'm going to give my personal historical narrative to this. And again, I prefaced it with my personal historical narrative around this. If you can imagine, in 1964, some of you have read the haggling that President Johnson had to do to even get the Civil Rights Act signed, and the concessions that were made all along the way. And what survived is what we have. And what we have is Title VI. Now, if you also can imagine America in 1964 with the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the onus placed on governmental entities that President Kennedy says, if you discriminate based on color and you get any government funds, we can cut y'all off. Immediately, all across the country, organizations such as this popped up. Everybody had to have a way to tell the government that we're not doing that. And so if you can imagine in somewhere backwater south in the spring of 65, they're a testament of saying we're not doing that and how or why that's true. And if you look historically around the country, that these are similar type agencies as ours. Most of them are underfunded. Most of them have poor enforcement mechanisms, but I believe that is by design. Even with Nashville's, there are issues with it, but I believe it's still a very, very strong document. It's just, are you as the commissioners desiring and willing to make it live? Because our job as to promote the personal dignity, safety, healthy, and security of all folk has a certain disruption to it. And the work that we do is always challenging what already is to make some change. In language access, Nashville had a way that it does that. So to change that, someone has to challenge the way you're doing language access. And folks say, well, it's going to cost a ton of money. It's going to be a bunch of printing. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And then we have to say, no, it won't be if you can do this, this, and this based on our research. So what we do is push Nashville toward its better self. That's the nature of changing what is we show up with the alternative. And hopefully that alternative is inclusive of more dignity and respect for all. Now, I'm going to cut it off right there. I think I've taken up enough time. And we can, if you need any other information, and after I talk with Derek, maybe we can set up something where we can spend a little bit more time to talk. But I'll turn it back over to the chair at this point. Unless, Barbara, you got something you want to say that I missed? Okay.
Fabulous.
Chair.
Thank you, Davey. So it's 4:56. We've got you for 34 minutes. I want to be cognizant of that. Thank you for a great overview. Sometimes the orientation happens in the office. Sometimes it happens like this. I think it's really helpful. It is bureaucracy, but it's really helpful to go through these founding documents and particularly the context that Davey gave you about the commission. There's just 4 things I want to share, and I'm going to do. I speak pretty quickly, so I'll try to do it as quick as possible. This can be daunting, and you can be like, what am I supposed to be doing behind this barrier, right? How am I supposed to express myself? How am I supposed to engage? You will see over time, but I want to say that, like he said, we hold this mission, right? That's our job. It's a big mission, and the enforcement mechanisms are not many. The more we are focused, committed, and passionate around that mission, and I think that requires a curiosity and a criticalness about what is going, about status quo. Why are we doing it that way? Ask those questions. Ask the obvious question. Why does Metro do it that way? I'm not in Metro. Can you explain to me why? That's where we start to understand, oh, maybe there is another option. Maybe it isn't as hard as everyone's making it out to me. We are, outside. We're not in Metro necessarily, the commissioners. So we can ask those questions. We can be dumb as long as it gets us to an equitable a city that respects the personal dignity of everyone around. This city has been in a moment for a while. That moment is pushing some people out and bringing some people in, and that is unequal. And it's unequal. It's not equitable. That growth has not been equitable. I see us as the body that gets to look at that. There aren't a ton of bodies that get to look at that right now. Everybody else is approving. We get to be the one that's saying, can we pause for 1 minute, 10 minutes, and ask why that's happening? So I just want to say that. That's why y'all have been brought here to ask whatever questions come to your mind about those issues, the ones that Davey went through. We have a water mess here. Don't worry about it. If everybody's wondering, we have a mess in aisle 9. Welcome. Don't worry about it. So I just want to say that sometimes it's very daunting behind these microphones. These things are publicized and recorded, so you don't know what to say. You don't have to be a fancy pants or a smarty pants. You just get to be curious and ask critical questions. That's our role. The other thing I want to say is sometimes people think that hitting the member of board or commission means you've hit the top of the mountain. I'm here to say that we're just starting the climb. I need you all to be active and passionate and engaged, please. We want all that you bring to the table. I don't know you yet. If we had time, I kind of want you all to go around and introduce yourself. At one point, I think at some point we'll even have plaques with your name on it. I will come by just to say hello, but bring whatever you bring, whoever you are, bring it. You're part of Nashville, and the more you're present, it's once a month, the more you're present and engaged, the better and more effective we will be. Davey's exactly right. We are only as effective and as powerful as we collective choose to be. And we have been given quite a big mandate, so let's use it. Oddly, the other thing I'll say about that is board membership is, the clout you bring, the influence you bring, the who you are, the who you know. But for me, at this point, it's bandwidth. How available are you? How much can you show up? How many Monday nights can you give us out of the year? So please keep that in mind. We We really value your presence. I've said that 10 different ways, so I'll stop. Microphones are daunting, intimidating. Go for it. Don't worry about it. Hopefully I lower the bar for everyone. And then I think that's all I want to say. We do have one big decision to make. We haven't introduced the current sort of members, so I just want to say I'm Mariam Al-Fazli. I'm your chair. Pratik is our vice chair. Did you want to say a few things before we move forward?
No, I think Mariam said everything that needed to be said. The only other thing I will say is that I don't want to drive back in Nashville traffic too quickly, so I'll also be here after the meeting just to do introductions as well.
And there are public meetings and all that stuff, so we technically cannot have one-on-one relationships on the commission topic. So just FYI, you can obviously run into each other in the grocery store and talk about turnips and all those things. But in terms of official business, we have to notice that, and it's quite a thing. Yes, Derek.
You also mentioned, you're able to communicate with staff or the attorney, but as she suggested, not among yourselves, outside of an open meeting. Be careful too with any electronic communications, because those are not permitted.
Text, email, whatever. So if you want to text me, be like, this issue's driving me crazy, we would probably want to email Davey about it, and Davey will get it back to me. So it all goes to Davey and Barbara and Mark. It doesn't really ever come directly to me unless we're in this moment. In this moment, you can speak up, so you can save it, or you can bring it to him.
And just so you're aware, you'll hear the term Tennessee's Open Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law. That's what those processes are meant to help you not violate that act. So, but yet you can engage, as she said, in all the discussion you wish, as long as she recognizes you during the open meeting.
Yes, and I want to ask, just because I don't know you yet, can you just say your name when you speak so we get to know each other?
And I don't know how to turn this on.
Is there a person that goes like this that has
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Excellent.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you. I'm Amy Charlton, and I was just going to ask you to say your last name one more time so I can phonetically spell it out.
I appreciate that, and I say it so fast. So Al-Fazli, Mariam Al-Fazli. Thank you. Welcome. I'd like to move forward with this one decision that's been lingering, if that's good. Yeah, okay. And if we have time, then maybe we can go around and just say our names, and if we get a moment.
Can we do names before decision? That
Would
just
that be
feels like
okay?
a good order
I
here.
would, I would love that, because I don't know anybody. So Barbara, can you, Deaconess, can you start that, please? Sorry.
Hey there. My name is Garlinda Burton.
Can they say just a little bit?
Yes.
Just a little bit?
Yes. Sorry.
My name is Garlinda Burton. I'm a Pisces. I like to dance. I am a deaconess with the United Methodist Church with a specialty in racial justice, gender justice, and LGBTQ inclusion.
My name is Dakota Galvin. I'm an Aries. I also love to dance. I work in human relations for a construction company. I'm president of Davidson County Young Democrats and vice chair of the county party.
Welcome. You can turn off your microphone because it starts to interrupt the...
Good evening. My name is Laria Quachi, and I work with Johnny and Friends. We serve families with disabilities.
I'm Marcus Buggs, native Nashvilleian, and I own a restaurant and a cocktail bar in East Nashville.
Coneheads.
The restaurant is called Coneheads, and the bar is called Plain Jane. Thank you.
I'm Charles Trauber. I'm an attorney at Bridgestone.
Welcome. I'll just say it again. I'm Mariam Al-Fazli. I'm the chief of staff for an entrepreneur who has a nonprofit and a for-profit arm, and mostly do volunteer work around Nashville.
Pratik Dash, political director at the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, and I make a motion that our next meeting be at Coneheads, and we can make it Metro approved or whatever we need to do.
Oh, yeah, I was like, can you talk to Derek?
I got you, Derek. Don't worry.
If I'm allowed to second things, I will second that right now. I'm Dan Cadenas. No, I don't know what I was going to say. I live out in Bellevue. I spill water occasionally, so sorry about that. And I also usually will try to be on time, so also sorry about that. That was me showing up at City Hall because I'm a rookie. I'm in Connexion with Ariel, so we've known each other for a little bit. But otherwise, I'm just very interested in this cause and want to help any way I can.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Also in Bellevue.
You are?
Yeah.
My name is John Mahomes. I phonetically pronounce Jonma. You spell it Genma. I live in the Hermitage area, and I'm a business owner here in Nashville. And I'm looking forward to being a part of this commission.
Hey all, my name is Kosar, he, him pronouns, name so nice to say it twice. I'm the multicultural organizer at the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. As well, I'm born and raised in Nashville with, refugee parents from Somalia. And I'm very excited to be here. It's almost full circle. The last time I was here, I was speaking as like a public, a public member. And so now being a board member is very, very exciting and also a bit daunting. So excited.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm Alicia Wynn, born and raised in Nashville, born and raised in Donaldson. So I'm so excited to be able to represent my hood, often overlooked, but quite a little mighty force in Donaldson. I am a consultant for a global consulting firm. Spent a lot of time working in local organizations and corporations in Nashville, and so happy to be able to join this group and learn from you guys and do the best for our fellow citizens. Thanks.
I am Amy Charlton. I am an assistant professor in nursing at Belmont, have been a bedside nurse in Nashville for over 20 years in the ICU, and now I get to teach my students. I'm really honored to be here, and I feel like it's a gift. This feels like the right thing for the right time. Thanks.
I'm Ariel Safti, and I'm with Conexión Americas, and we have the mission of creating a welcoming community where Latino families can belong, contribute, and succeed. It's nice to meet everybody.
Fabulous. That feels much better. So welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have you. Now let's move on. We have an important decision that's been delayed because of a lack of quorum. Have I said that before? So we're going to move on. We have a procurement board appointment. So just to give you some background on this, it's almost 2 years ago, if not longer, that the Metro Human Relations Commission was given a position on the procurement board as a result of a debate that was going on about whether there was being fairness and equity in procurement decisions, in Metro procurement decisions. And as a solution, it was decided that we, MHRC, would be able to appoint someone to that board. Now, the procurement board, as its name explains, decides on major procurement deals. Clearly, the processes of how they happen and then the final decision process. And so having someone on there that has its eye to the personal dignity, equity, safety of Nashvillians is a great idea, particularly as we look to diversity. Yes, Garlinda?
Just to be crystal clear, procurement of contractors to do work for Metro.
Metro, okay. Exactly. Thank you for clarifying. All Metro. And that can... I don't know if you're aware, some of you are business people, so you know that can span the gamut in terms of very big deals from building, construction, amenities, whatever it might be, services. So it's just, it was quite a win for us because typically that's a very business-oriented thing. And so people don't have the lens that someone that we would look to would have. And so after having an application process, which Pratik oversaw a bit, we came down to basically the end of the process. Do you want to detail that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, as Mariam said, we had an application process, put the job description out on the website, publicized, had a few applicants, and, as we continued, we were going to have an ad hoc committee to help kind of review the applications, and slowly but surely, some of the applicants dropped out, some of the applicants just were unresponsive, and we narrowed down to one applicant. His name is, I can talk about I'm looking at you. I can talk about who the applicant was and everything, right?
It was in a public meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I know. It's scary.
As someone that has, I always want to check with legal. That's been my jam here.
As an immigrant.
Yeah. So the applicant is Larry Turnley, also known as LT, if folks know him and have met with him. But he has worked with labor, Black, and immigrant communities for many years, has been a staple of Nashville for almost 2 decades, has worked really closely with, construction, I think, as well. And, He came to our May meeting. We did not have quorum, did serve public comment at the time, and kind of explained why he wanted to be a part of the procurement board, and kind of mentioned that. And I will just fully transparently say that I understand that as we vote on this, we're putting a lot of trust. We're asking you all to put a lot of trust in the old commissioners to kind of, trust our judgment on this. But, Larry kind of presented his case back in May, and as, the board went through transitions and things like that, he's been patiently waiting for his opportunity to serve on the board. I did speak with him quite recently. It is within the last 24 hours, and he is still interested in being on the board and would like to continue moving forward if the commission would like to vote on that. And then I don't know if I can open it up to other board members who might, if anyone else would like to say anything about Larry or the comments that he made in May. I know that was a while ago. Oh, Derek.
I have a recommendation. I believe first, if you're going to take action on that candidate, you should have a motion proposing that person be appointed.
I am planning, yeah.
And then have the discussion.
Oh, got it.
All the information related to that motion before the vote is called. Is the process I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to see if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. So I will say I would like to make a motion to vote for Larry as our procurement board nominee, if I can get a second.
Second.
Thank you. And so now I would love to open it up for discussion. Can I open it up for discussion? Is that you?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting, I see the chair thing, I have the chair mic,
It's
I'm
great.
just feeling comfortable.
It's great.
So.
Very supportive and contribution. I would just like to give you guys a little bit of context as we go into this vote. Larry did come as a public comment, so we didn't do like a question or back and forth, but I think what's important, at least from my perspective, in terms of the commission, is that you have someone that has experienced being a contractor, being someone on the other side, understands what it's like to try to navigate cumbersome and difficult procurement processes within Metro. There are barriers to entry, and those can keep a lot of people out. And so as in thinking about why Larry would be a good candidate, he's clearly been someone that's been through that process and talked about that. He says, I know how hard it is to cross your T's and dot your I's to get in, to be even considered for these contracts. I know what people are doing, regular folks like small businesses, et cetera, to try to be considered for these. And so that's what's really important for us in terms of representing and providing sort of a fair playing field for those that maybe just don't have all the contacts or all the information to be able to compete for these really lucrative things. So that's what I was really impressed with. And he knows, like Pratik said, he knows a lot of community members. He's known in the city in a variety of overlapping communities. And so I think he can get the word out in terms of, this is what the procurement board does. This is what the process is, very public things that are maybe just not as well known. So I think he can be that bridge that's really, really valuable as opposed to just a bridge to the business community, the major business community. So those are some of the reasons that
I'll add one more thing and then I'll pass it over to you, Davey, is just the other thing that I just doing due diligence is that Larry has worked with Stand Up Nashville, to an organization here in Nashville, to learn what it means to be on a board. One of his passions and dream is to be on a board, and this is an opportunity that has opened up for him that I think just hearing him speak, and I know that's really easy for me to say secondhand, and I wish I could convey the passion and excitement that he has, but just him having that is contagious. It makes me excited it reinvigorates me to be here every Monday and kind of following through with everything that Mariam has asked for. And Davia, I'll pass to you.
Just a little background, and then I'll make one comment about why this is important. The commission was part of getting a seat on this procurement thing. Nashville went through, and still does, this idea of wage theft happens all the time. And we were fortunate to get a watered-down piece of legislation passed that commits Metro to not be involved in wage theft. We wanted it to go to penalize those who stole people's wages. This does not even extend to MMPS, just Metro. But part of that was getting this position. I don't know if you all read the paper, but this is an issue that's come back up again, the privatization of all of the parking in Nashville. Well, that is a procurement board issue because right now there's an issue with the contractors arguing with each other. And to put that in context, there's also a move afoot amongst individuals in Nashville around this issue of equity. Instead of privatizing it out again, why don't Metro do a cost analysis of what it would cost for them to do it themselves? Because if nothing else, it would create a job with a minimum pay of right at $38,000 a year with full pension and insurance. And so there is a connectivity to this position.
So I hope that's clear as to why that's relevant, why that, it's something that seems out of our realm is very much somewhere we need to be. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm glad we can finally move forward. So if I can hear, we have questions. Yes, please.
I'm a business owner here in Nashville, and I've never heard of LT. Yeah. So do you have a bio or something for us? I totally agree that there's definitely representation, and I see the validity of it, but we have nothing in front of us to vote on something that you're stressing the importance of that. So is in the packet that was provided for us tonight. I hate to be the troublemaker on the first go round, you guys, but in the packet that you provided for us tonight, if this is a level of importance, do we not have something that we can connect to, click on, or to just know what we are doing so that I'm speaking for myself, won't be blindly agreeing to something that I really, truly, honestly don't know who we're talking about. So that I can at least read up, Google, view something, even in the context of the small time that we have here. I would like to be provided something so I can be more informed other than, it's trust but verify type of thinking. Go ahead, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that comment, and I'd also, in addition to having some information about the candidate resume, any other materials he submitted, I'd also just like to go back. I know, or at least I understand from the discussion that it appears there was some conversation with him in May that may have been in this forum. If we could also understand how long the position was announced and how many candidates were received and what that timeline was, just in case there's a thought that maybe we should go back and look at additional candidates or new candidates.
Yeah, so the urgency around it is that it was up for, I believe, a year, at least. And I think total 3 applicants applied, and it was dispersed quite a lot, widely, and even sort of pushed, apply, everybody applies. So, and then there was one, and now y'all don't know us, so I understand that. Yes.
If I could offer, just listening to the 2 concerns that are raised, the existing commissioners are more aware than they are. So for their comfort, if it's necessary, we just roll it another 30 days.
I just want to give a little bit more context before we push it more 30 days.
But there is a motion on the floor that we'll go to a vote anyway.
Yes, Derek.
There's a way to avoid the vote. There could be a motion in relation to this matter to defer to a date certain, which would be the next board meeting, and therefore it wouldn't require that this be tabled or postponed. I'll just say that the motion be deferred to a date certain, second, debate on that, and then you vote to approve that motion, and then that means it comes up at the next meeting. That's one way to do it. Cleanest way, in my recommended opinion.
I have one question, if that's okay.
I just want to finish my thought really quick. I'm sorry, Kosa. Now, if there was one candidate and that's all we were left with and they were not qualified, we would not push for this. So I just want you to know that we were lucky that that person fits the bill. I think a resume or whatever is easy. He's also a very public person, so he's on the internet and things like that. So you can do that research if we move it forward. Just to give you a little bit more context as to why we want to make this decision. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I guess, would there be like a sense of urgency for this appointment? Are decisions like upcoming, specifically around Pastor David Tucker, what you talked about the parking? And then second, would there be like a process of accountability with like LT, like coming to, our Metro Human Relations Commission meetings, giving us maybe updates periodically? I'm in the affirmative in that we do move forward. Just kind of taking into account the circumstances and how long this candidate has been waiting for, but love to hear everyone's thoughts.
Sure. I think, yes. Sorry, is there more? Yes, we can definitely bring him anytime and hold him account. And also, obviously, we can do the motion that Derek has suggested. And yes, procurement board is always influencing everything around us. But of course, we can delay. Again, yes, Garlinda.
I want to reiterate what the sister has said here, and I don't want us to be part of a system that doesn't give information. So we have all these new board members here, and I was a part of that conversation. I'm willing to move forward too, but just in the future, I think if we're bringing a vote about a candidate, we've got to have information before people when they come. I would like to I guess I don't need to amend the motion. I'm just going to say that. And because I'm ready to vote, but there's a lack of comfort for me because other folks don't know who this person is.
And to make an informed decision.
For us to just say, well, we know him, that wouldn't be good enough for me. I don't know him, but I met him the last time. Now I do, but that's not going to fly with me. I got to know. So I'm just saying that in future, I think we just need to be very attentive to that.
Great, thank you. It's called a motion for a future, what did you call it?
Motion to defer to a date certain.
Can I get a motion?
Can I make the same? Oh, yeah. Can I make the motion even though I made the previous? Okay.
Can I get a motion for a date certain? To defer to a date certain.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone abstain or against? Great, the motion so moves. Thank you all for that discussion. I appreciate it. Let me look at what else is left. Yes.
Let me just clarify. Is it that you all want a resume, or do you want to actually engage him at the next meeting?
That's what I was going to ask as well. I would, before that is answered, I would like to say that, he has come one time and already engaged. And so asking someone to come again and again, I feel
it's recorded as well, I believe.
It is recorded.
That meeting is recorded. So you can, right, Barbara? They can find that online. So you can, we will send you that link so you can watch the bit on him so that you have that information. And then I think a resume, if that's what he submitted, whatever, he submitted publicly, I think could be fine as well. So the recording and the resume. Is that good? Yes.
I just want to be fair in how we are viewing this. It's that when we were asked to serve, we were asked to prepare to come for a number of times, and it was start, stop, start, stop. And I was okay with that because I was committed to serving. So I think if we're committed to doing whatever the work is in front of us, another meeting, if that's necessary, should not deter someone that's wanting to serve. I just needed to say that.
We can request him to come to the next meeting.
I'm not asking for that. I just don't want that to be the help me out, someone. Yes, there we go. Thank you.
This may or may not help, but could it, I don't know if this is in accordance with the bylaws or anything, but if commissioners, once they do have that information, the resume, have access to that recording, can they send questions that maybe LT could respond back, or do people just prefer?
No, I don't believe so. I think you can send questions to Davey.
And then
Davey can compile things from LT and revert back, probably in an open meeting.
If we're going to do that, now it gets work that's unnecessary. If you're going to bring him back and redo it, just redo it, and let me take a part of the hit for what happened in this meeting. We generally have everything that's needed for the meeting. This is weird in that we postponed the last meeting due to the interpretation of what constituted a quorum. And so that's on us for not having the information in the package. And yes, it has been several months with him who went through the process that the new commissioners are totally unaware of, and I get that. So if there's a hit to take, we'll take the hit here, but it was listed basically as something that we thought would be a functionary process. So
I have a question. I see the notes for April and for June, but you were saying this meeting was in May?
I can explain that. So,
okay.
Typically, you will always get the previous month's minutes in the meeting. We, just as another fluke, again, new team, right? So let's grant everyone some grace here. Davey started in May. We've literally had to. So basically, you would typically get July's meeting notes. In the June meeting, we realized we were missing the April meeting. We had never approved the April meeting notes because we didn't have quorum in May. So we had to bring back April's notes. So I just noted hey guys, can we properly approve those in the next meeting? We never had the July meeting. So now we have to properly approve April and June. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but you would not see that. You would not see many months back in this agenda moving forward. Does that make sense? Thank you for keeping your eyes on all things.
I would say, and Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, the May minutes are on the website as well. So those are accessible as well when needed to look at.
And one thing that brings me up is that most of these meetings are recorded. That's why we have the microphone. So if your light's on, that's being recorded. So we can also just show you where that's at in case you miss a meeting, in case you just want to be like, what was that discussion again? I mean, it's not perfect, but it's there. So you can always rely on that as well, particularly when we have people here and we need to talk to them. Okay, so I think, yeah.
This is probably also because I was late, but you guys were saying a quorum is 17? All of us?
No.
Okay, half.
Nine is quorum.
9 is quorum, and we need a majority, or everybody has to vote yes?
Majority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, yes?
Derek.
When you vote, it's merely the rule of a majority of the members present and voting. So all of you could abstain, but 3, and 2 to 1 passes it. So it can be a little less than the majority of the quorum, and the matter could still be approved. But it requires quorum to conduct official business.
And yeah, I'm just throwing that out there also in the sense that I don't know where everybody's at. Obviously, I want to vote knowing who this candidate is also, so I would prefer that. But I see that there was a lot of work done already. So.
Appreciate that. We've made the motion. So
Yeah,
we'll try to bring him in, and we'll work with Davey to see what we can make happen for you guys for the next meeting.
I just want to follow to what Commissioner Dash just said, not only the minutes on the website, but the actual meetings on YouTube. So if you just put in, human relations.
Could you put it up? Just watch it.
Yeah, everything should always be open and published. So just know that.
Can I just want to say one thing for the record as I brought this up one more time. This is the last thing I'll say, is that if I was in a new commissioner's shoes, I would feel the same way. So I just want to be very clear that I appreciate you all bringing it up. I'm not just trying to hammer through someone that I only know, and I just want to be very transparent and clear that, I appreciate you all bringing that up, and that's why we're having this discussion. And so I also want to make sure that I think I'm taking some of this hit too. It's not just on you, Davey. I think me as well. It's just
that's admirable, Commissioner.
We're all taking the hit. We're all taking it happily. Okay, so since it's 5:30, I'm cognizant of that. What else do we want to cover here quickly? Do you want to just give us the update on the Director of Policy and Research? And
That's her.
yeah, there she is.
Yeah, so you met her. We have hired her, and it's her first day. She's already have a couple pages of notes, so she has more than enough to keep her busy on the reimagining public safety and the inclusivics, and as other things unfold. And in the public.
We have one more question. Yep.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, since attendance was a major issue that we read in a lot of our email correspondence from you guys, could you tell us, is there an attendance policy or attendance,
Yes.
12 meetings and could we get that?
It's in your folder.
Oh, okay.
And it's in that document that I said that you'll be referring to more than anything else.
I think it's tab.
It is in the bylaws.
2 or 3. 3. My 3's empty. But so basically, I'm going with memory. But if you miss
here it is. Here,
two consecutive meetings, or half the total meetings. I'm going off memory. I don't have one in my binder. Go ahead, Derek.
Bottom line is you're encouraged to attend, vehemently encouraged to attend. Ultimately, though, you're not subject to removal except by action of Metro Council. But you will have reminders, solicitations from the chair to improve your attendance. You will be asked, as I recall, I think the second step is you will be asked as to whether you intend to continue to fulfill your duties or not. And if not, encourage resigning so that someone could be appointed to fulfill your term that is going to be engaged. But hopefully it doesn't rise to that level. But actual removal, I believe, requires Metro Council action, since they were the approving body.
Article 4, Section 4, removal, resignation. If any member of the commission misses 3 consecutive full commission meetings without excuse, or 1/3 of the full commission meetings or committee meetings in a 12-month period, the chair shall improve attendance and shall inquire as to whether that member wishes to continue to serve on the commission or to resign.
And let us know. That's another thing. Just let Barbara know when you get the agenda. You'll see it. Generally, we try to do this the first week of every month. The first week of every month. That's generally when we try to do it. I believe that's still staying the same case.
Yes, it is, except for like July 4th and
holidays,
stuff like that.
Whatever, Memorial Day, Labor Day. And so look out for that email the Monday before, because she has to notice it within 10 days, and then let her know, because if we don't have quorum, we can maybe figure something out. It's always the worst when you are there and you didn't know you weren't going to get quorum. Does that make sense? But you guys seem active and engaged, so we're very excited about this. But thank you for asking about what it requires.
Okay, the last thing, you have the public comment section, and if I could, Chair, I have Commissioner Vennick here, and I'd like for him to come and to read a statement that I would hope the commission would entertain that could be a representative statement as it relates to the anti-Semitic relationship that the press and stuff we've been hearing. Again, I appreciate him for his effort, and if I can just use this as an example, oftentimes when other issues come up, we may ask one of you to compile something on behalf of everyone. And you don't have to take it, you can chop it, cut it, or do whatever. But I would ask that you always be aware that we meet every 30 days. And you can't belabor a point to the point where there's no point in putting out a statement anymore. And we have been there where everyone cannot agree, and then by the time we get something, it's no need in putting it out, that moment is already passed. Commissioner Vennick.
Welcome, Commissioner Vennick.
I am not a commissioner.
Good to see you.
Erwin. Hey, Erwin.
Erwin.
My name is Erwin Vennick. I have served on the commission for the last 3 years. I anticipate being reappointed to the commission tomorrow night with the council, and hopefully we'll be joining you around the table next month. Many of you, or some of you may know that between July 29th and August 1st of this year, there were anti-Semitic mailers distributed in two parts of Nashville. The first part was around St. Henry's Church in Bellevue area, which is also where the Jewish Community Center is located, and the other areas was in the Richland West End area, which is where Shereth Israel, the Orthodox Jewish congregation, and West End Synagogue, the conservative Jewish congregation, are located. Those mailers were just thrown on people's lawns, and the mailers had things such as: every single aspect of the COVID agenda is Jewish. Every single aspect of the Biden administration is Jewish. Every single aspect of the Ukrainian-Russian war is Jewish. Every single aspect of gun control is Jewish. Every single aspect of the media is Jewish. Every single aspect of Disney is Jewish. I drafted a statement that I would appreciate the commission considering. I would not ask for the commission to consider it tonight, because I firmly believe in that when important things are to be considered by a body, they should think about them, they should have them in their hands. I would ask that the statement be distributed for the commission's consideration at its next meeting, but I will read it to you so you'll have some sense of its content. If I can get my phone to work. And this is the statement. Nashville has suffered another round of anti-Semitic attacks. Nashville residents, both Jewish and non-Jewish, have been confronted by anti-Semitic messages, not only on social media, but also showing up at their homes. The most recent episode occurred between July 29th, 2002 and August 1st, 2002 in areas of West Nashville. The Metropolitan Human Relations Commission applauds the timely response by local officials and a number of community partners. The Metropolitan Police Department responded quickly to the reports and has initiated an investigation. The mayor's office, the vice mayor, and several members of the Metro Council issued public statements condemning the anti-Semitic messages. And as important, a number of community partners expressed their concern to and solidarity with the Nashville Jewish community. We join with them and encourage other religious and community organizations to express their messages of support for, and in this instance, the Jewish community, and condemnation of the messages of hate. The disturbing anti-Semitic propaganda that was distributed is similar in tone and style to that used by the Nazi regime, and for the same reasons. This propaganda, accusing Jews of controlling the world and blaming Jews for all social ills, targets Jews as the enemy. Once Jews are defined and identified as the enemy, anything done against them can be justified. We cannot surrender to these dangerous and damaging efforts intended to divide and distort. We cannot stand idle in the face of treacherous and threatening attempts to sow chaos and fear. We must continue to call out this alarming rhetoric and push back to promote civility, inclusion, and respect for all of our friends and neighbors in Nashville and in Tennessee. Please join us in this effort. So I would ask that this be distributed to you for your consideration at your next meeting. Hopefully I will join you. And the intent that I have behind having the commission consider this is that the commission should be in a position to marshal support from all organizations in Nashville that are concerned about hate that rocks our community. And I'm not only talking about government. I'm not talking about just statements from the mayor. I'm talking about not-for-profit organizations. I'm talking about business organizations. Everybody is in this. And we have to, when we are confronted with hate like this, regardless to whatever group it's directed, all those voices should rise up and say, we will not tolerate this in our community. So I thank you for your consideration. I look forward to joining you next month. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Erwin. We appreciate you coming today and sharing that. And we'll be happy to share that with the whole commission moving for the next meeting, and look forward to seeing you here next time.
Well, I really wanted to come because I wanted to meet you guys.
Yeah. Yes.
While I appreciate Erwin and his giving of his time to compile this, I'll still say putting this out next month.
Yeah, I
hear you. This happened a few weeks ago, and it'll be August before this gets out. And I would say if the tone and the tenor is what it should be, I again would ask you, Chair, to ask that the commission would approve for us to release this with any necessary edits for grammar and correction. But if not, in August, who's thinking about it?
I'm happy to push for a motion to approve this statement that has been spoken to us from Erwin Buenick as a public comment. All those in favor? I mean, if someone's
I
ready
would
to
like
put
to,
your
I
motion.
will make that motion.
I'll
Great.
second.
Second, fabulous. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think I heard a majority ayes. Great. Anyone against? Abstaining? Fabulous. The motion moves.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you, Erwin. Okay, and on that, I believe we can do a motion to complete the meeting unless there are any other announcements.
I just have one announcement.
Okay.
Thank you for mentioning about the meetings. Generally, will be the first Monday of every month. The first Monday next month is Labor Day, so we will be meeting the following month on September 12th. Of course, I will be seeing you as well.
And also just check the address. Do not assume the address. We still may be moving around to different community centers as an effort and initiative to be in the community. So don't always assume it's Sonny West, and just check it when it comes out with Barbara. Did you want to say something, Davey?
No.
Okay, okay, fabulous. Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Fabulous.
I think you had a question over here.
Yeah,
Do you have a question? Yes.
This is more procedural, but I guess how strict are we adhering to Robert's Rules of Orders? What should we know, or is it just only when we're taking actions like motions that we should be aware of?
Go ahead, Derek.
Your bylaws provide that the bylaws are the governing document, but to the extent that they don't cover the issue, and as long as it's not inconsistent with your bylaws, Robert's Rules is what governs the process and procedures. Please don't go too in-depth, though. As you can see, those are quite cumbersome. I know a little bit of them. I don't claim to be completely an expert in that, but you've heard tonight probably the mixture of most of the issues raised surrounding Robert's Rules of Order. But again, if we have a matter and it requires it, I'll research it during the meeting to try to get the answer. But yeah, it's just for the sake of the public knowing that you all are, serious in your business. Take it with the professionalism that you should.
Yes, thank you for that question, Kosovar, and definitely always bring up whatever you see. We have one announcement before we move to adjourn.
Yes, just wanted to let everybody know September 24th, I will make this announcement next month as well, but September 24th, TIRC, the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, is hosting a night market where 17 to 20 immigrant-owned businesses are coming to our building to give samples of different types of food. So if you are a foodie, we would love to see you. And you can find me for more details about that.
Great, thank you. And now I would like to request a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, we got the hang of it. Can I get a second? Fabulous, all in favor? Aye. Any opposing? Abstaining? First mission with the new commissioners adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.